0, 1, 2, 3. Let's get started.
Okay, so today we're going to be talking about another exciting bill that has just been introduced to Congress. We talked about the Hearing Protection Act 2 weeks ago, I believe, and that essentially would remove suppressors from the NFA, and it would remove the $200 tax stamp that you are required to get whenever you either purchase a suppressor or make one for yourself. Well, there has been another act called the Shush Act, and it was introduced by Mike Lee. Now, let me give you a quick breakdown of what exactly this act would accomplish if indeed it was passed. So first, it would eliminate federal regulation of suppressors as firearms under the NFA and the Gun Control Act. Now, that's basically the same as the Hearing Protection Act, except this adds the Gun Control Act, which the Hearing Protection Act doesn't cover. Remove existing taxes, fees, and registration requirements associated with suppressors. So this, again, adds to the Hearing Protection Act, because with the Hearing Protection Act by itself, you would still have to pass a background check, like as if you were purchasing a firearm. Like, let's say you walk into a store to buy a suppressor, you're still going to have to do that paperwork like you're buying a gun. You just don't have to pay the tax or do the Form 4. Allow current or retired law enforcement officers to carry concealed firearms with suppressors. So this one's kind of weird to me because I've never heard of this before. Like, maybe I've just misunderstood up to this point. Like, I've only really been into suppressors for the last 2 years, but I didn't know that you weren't already allowed to carry with a suppressor. You know, maybe since suppressors are NFA items, maybe you're not allowed to conceal carry them. I'm really not sure, but I do find it odd that that is specifically mentioned. Also, why just retired law enforcement and, you know, current law enforcement? Why can't everybody conceal carry with a suppressor? So I don't exactly know why that bulletin's there. I'll have to, you know, look into that farther, but I just think that's kind of weird. Next, preempt state regulations on the manufacture, transport, transfer, or possession of suppressors. So, I mean, that could be an interesting piece of the legislation, because that seems like it would be going after states that try to regulate suppressors on their own in addition to what's already federally regulated, like states like California, where you're just straight up not allowed to have a suppressor, regardless of whether you get a Form 4 or a Form 1. So that part of the bill could make it so that California doesn't have the option to make them illegal, I guess. We'll see. Next, strike provisions requiring mandatory minimum sentences for suppressor possession in certain cases. So, I mean, that's always a good thing. People shouldn't be in jail over hearing protection. Next, exempt suppressors from regulation by the Consumer Product Safety Commission. Provide a provision for a refund of the $200 transfer tax for anyone who purchased a suppressor within 2 years prior to the enactment of the bill. Now this is the second to last bullet point, and this is the one that I am absolutely the most interested in by far, because, like I said, I've only been into suppressors for the last couple of years. If this bill passed, I would literally be able to get a refund for every tax stamp that I have right now, because I've gotten them all within the last 2 years. I'd be able to get a big enough refund that I could go buy another whole suppressor, which would be awesome. So that right there, I would rather, like, I don't know if it's good or bad to have two bills that essentially do the same thing, one doing more than the other. But if I'm hoping for at least one of them to pass, I'm hoping for this one to pass, because, you know, I, like many others, have paid that tax stamp multiple times, and it's kind of a ridiculous tax. $200 just for the privilege to buy something that I should be legally allowed to own no matter what. And then finally, the last bullet point is, if passed, the Shush Act will work alongside the Hearing Protection Act to further deregulate suppressors and remove them from the Gun Control Act of 1968. So like I said, I think that that's one of the distinctions, is that the Hearing Protection Act doesn't mention the Gun Control Act the way that the Shush Act does. So, two different bills. Both of them are currently in Congress. You can track their progress by going to congress.gov, I believe. They're really easy to find on Google. Just type in Hearing Protection Act 2025 or Shush Act 2025, and it'll, the Google results will lead you to the congress.gov page where you can see where they're sitting. For right now, they're just introduced, but once they get voted on, you'll be able to see their status and whether they get approved or not. And I don't even know when these things get voted on. I do know that the Hearing Protection Act and the Shush Act have both been introduced before, and they've both not passed. But I think that this is the first time that they've both been introduced at the same time. I could be wrong about that, but I do know that they have both been introduced before, and I do know that they both didn't pass the last times that they were introduced. And the Hearing Protection Act, I believe, has been introduced more than once. This is, I think, the third time that it's been introduced to Congress. The Shush Act, I'm not sure how many, I don't know if this is the second or the third time, but I know that this is at least the second time that it's been introduced. So both of them being on the docket are very good things. Like I said, I don't know if it makes a difference having two bills that essentially do the thing. I don't know if it makes it better or worse. I would assume it just makes it better because it's more chances for a good thing to be passed in the first place. So, I mean, who knows? Like I said, you can track these things through congress.gov, and I would definitely recommend following along with these because it's something that affects everybody who's into guns, and especially everybody who's into suppressors. And suppressors are, like I said a million times, they're just safety equipment. They should have never been regulated in the first place. So hopefully they get deregulated, and hopefully even more, we get refunds on the ridiculous tax that we've been paying up to this point, because that would get a lot of people a lot of money, including me. So anyways, if you like this video, please feel free to like and subscribe. You can check out links in the channel description for, my website or my Patreon or my PayPal and all that stuff. I haven't really added a bunch of stuff to Patreon yet just because I'm not exactly sure where to take it, but that's just another way that you can contact me. I've had a lot of people hit me up asking specifics about, the 3D printed suppressors and asking for advice on that kind of thing. So anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one.